Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
WNBA All-Star Game, Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC.
Clap your hands if you got soul now.
FX is Justified, City Primeval.
I'm Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens.
What's up, Slim? This ought to be good.
Based on the best.
This is Paul Feinbaum. That'll do it for me today. Coming up next, The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This hour is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
It's a Friday. It is the Friday before SEC Media Days. As we get you set, there is a line of some storms out there. That's Wes Neighbors. Steve Moulton here with you. On a Friday, we're just doing 1 hour extravaganza today, walking up to Braves baseball as the Braves are back in session. How are you, Wes?
Doing good. I just saw the UNA uniforms. I like them.
Yeah.
Did you see them?
Very sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. We are down to our final two teams to preview, and coming up here in about 10 minutes' time, Christian Miller is going to join us to talk a little Alabama football as the Crimson Tide, at least according to the odds makers, this is as of the first week of July, at a plus 220 to win the SEC championship. And we will conclude with the University of Georgia. They are the odds-on favorite to win the SEC championship. But all eyes and all conversations have been focused in Knoxville, Tennessee. And this is directly from the NCAA. Over the course of 3 seasons, the Tennessee football program committed 18 Level 1 violations encompassing more than 200 individual infractions, most of which involve recruiting rules violations and direct payments to prospects. Current student-athletes and their families, according to the decision released by the Infractions Committee, an additional 4 Level 1 unethical conduct violations occurred involving former University of Tennessee employees. The violations resulted in impermissible inducements and benefits totaling approximately $60,000. As a result, Tennessee failed to monitor its football program. Additionally, due to his personal involvement in the violations, the former football coach violated head coach responsibility rules. So that is how it's summed up. They break it down into Prospect 1 and Prospect 2. Prospect 1's mother was handed $6,000 in cash intended to be a down payment on a new car. So punishment. Let's get to the punishment, shall we? 5 years probation, a reduction in football scholarships by a total of 28 during the term of the probation, including at least 2 scholarships each year. Tennessee previously self-imposed and is credited with 16 scholarship reductions from the 21-22 year and the 22-23 academic year. And further down, a 6-year show cause order for the former head coach. Should the head coach become employed in an athletic-related position at an NCAA school during that show cause order, he shall be subject to a suspension from 100% of the first season of his employment.
So is it 6 years or 1 year of employment?
Well, the show cause is 6 years.
Yeah, but so that means he can't coach. So why would anybody hire him?
I mean, if you
confusing.
have a place that has multiple assistants and he could work, I don't know, off-site.
Well, he can't work off-site. He can't work. He has to be suspended for a year. That doesn't. I don't get where they're going with that.
A 5-year show cause ordered for the former director of recruiting. A 10-year show cause for the former assistant director of recruiting.
Who are what their names?
Well, the NCAA doesn't spell it out, but I knew you were going to ask that.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. And let's see here. Former defensive coordinator Derek Ansley.
Wow.
Director of recruiting is the former director of recruiting is Bethany Gunn, and assistant director of recruiting is Shantrace Boone, also receiving the show cause orders from the NCAA.
Huh.
Let's squeeze in some phone calls before we hear from Christian Miller. Coming up here in about 5 minutes' time, Mark joins us right out of the gate. How are you, Mark?
Well, I tell you what, I do not like Tennessee for anything orange, all right? But I'm going to say this. I'm sticking by the NCAA. What a double, triple, quadruple standard. We're talking about the amount of money that Alabama pays its athletes. I think it's 2 players it would take under the NIL. They get $25,000 a year, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Wes. So this looks like I got to go back to look at what Alabama got, but I don't even know if Alabama got this.
Well, how many scholarships did they lose total?
It was 28.
That's a lot of scholarships.
I mean, yeah. Look. I don't like. Like I said, let me repeat myself. I don't like Tennessee. I don't like anything about them, but I like things done the right way, and the crime and the consequences to be what we would 10 people. If you line 10 people up that don't really care, and let them hear what I just heard Steve read in this state of Alabama, I think you would have probably at least 5 or 6 that would say this NCAA is a joke. And the last thing I'll mention is so someone else can get on. Can you imagine now, if you're Alabama, if you're any other school in the country, what is the NCAA going to do when they start handing down violations of NIL and what's the word they call when you not bump into another player, but you basically recruit a player on a team. They got a word for it now. But what does this mean for those kinds of things that are going on currently? And I'll hang up the list.
Well, the rules are different now than they were.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't NIL when Tennessee was doing all this.
Correct.
They might have been on the cusp of inventing NIL. So Derek Ainsley's not allowed to coach either? Where is Derek Ainsley?
I don't know that question right now.
He's a really good coach. That's interesting. So
he is with the Chargers at the moment.
Well, it won't affect him there for sure.
He's good. He's defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles.
24 scholarships. That's a lot.
28.
This will affect Tennessee. They cannot be happy with this. Has anybody come out about this?
Not from the university. I have yet to receive any kind of press release from the University of Tennessee. Ray is on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. How are you, Ray?
Imagine if Tennessee had said, to hell with this. I'm not talking to the NCAA. How bad would it have been then?
Or had they not taken action as soon as they found out?
Well, you know, I'm going to read the report because this is rough. I mean, there had to be – was Phil Former mentioned in any of this?
No.
No.
No. I kept waiting to read those words, those beautiful words of former athletic director.
No, I mean,
No, we're the NCAA. We protect our informants, okay? But notwithstanding, $60,000 in benefits and an $8 million fine. ROI is not great on that, folks.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate the phone call. Let's talk some Bama football, shall we? Who better to help break down the Crimson Tide here in 2023? You can hear him on Tide 100.9, Corey and Christian Miller. It's the Miller's Edge on Tide 100.9, but Christian Miller is kind enough to join us right now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to stay dry. It's a little rainy here in Tuscaloosa, but it's a good Friday, and I'm doing well. I appreciate you guys having me.
So at least the one question I've been asked by multiple talk show hosts in this southeastern region area is, do you think Bama can bounce back? Do you think Bama can bounce back? And I don't know why that infuriates me so much. I just bounce back, really? Have you gotten the brunt of that argument from people that you run into?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, we have people calling in our show on the Miller's Edge. You know, people doubting Alabama, doubting Coach Saban. I mean, that's honestly been the hot topic these past couple of weeks. And between that and who's the quarterback going to be. But, look, here's the thing. Can they bounce back? Absolutely. You know, I was a part of several teams at Alabama that, quote-unquote, bounced back. You know, I look back at 2015, that year. We ultimately went on to win a national championship. But going into that season, we had no clue who the quarterback was going to be. Blake Sims was named the quarterback the year prior. We had Jake Coker that had transferred in, but they actually started Cooper Bateman at the beginning of that season. Jake Coker went on to earn the job, I think, week 3, and that's all she wrote. But again, leading into that year, we heard the same thing. We heard that Alabama's done. You know, it's over. The dynasty's over. They can't do it anymore. And we went on to win that year. Then we had some more success. We ended up winning again in 2017. So can they bounce back? Absolutely. You know, it's just a matter of can they get their identity back and get back to doing the things necessary to be at that level.
Do you think having Bryce Young and such a great player kind of maybe they didn't work as hard everywhere else just because they thought how good he was?
Wes, that's a great point. You know, I don't necessarily think that was it. I think it's more so, and me and some other guys talk about this. I think when you have so much turnover in your program, right? I mean, every year you're vulnerable in losing your coordinators and losing coaches, right? I mean, it's hard to keep up your standard in your process, and that's what Alabama's been built on, specifically under Coach Saban, is the process, right? And when you have coaches leaving and new coaches coming in and new guys coming in, over time it's hard to keep up that standard in that process. And think about it, how are these coaches supposed to teach that process if they themselves don't necessarily know it? So if you ask me, I think the biggest challenge and the biggest hurdle really is fighting that complacency that comes with success and in sticking to your process. I feel like when I look at Alabama, the thing that stands out to me is, you've got the guys around you that you need. You got the Bryce Youngs, the Will Andersons. There's no doubt about that when you get the number one recruiting classes. But to me, it appears between the eyes, right? We have to reestablish that identity. Guys don't seem as confident as they once were. We heard that from Will Anderson going into that Tennessee, talking about that Tennessee game. When I was playing, I'm sure when you were playing, when Bama has been at their very top, when they've been at their peak, you know, they have that identity of making their opponents quit. You know, we used to basically win games before we even played a snap, and that's because guys were afraid to play it. And that's because we were more than prepared to do our job, and we knew who we were. We had that identity. And I think that's the biggest thing, Wes, is they just need to get that identity back. They need to go back to playing smash-mouth physical football, but also adapt to today's college game because it is different with these offenses now. But at the end of the day, you still got to run the ball. You got to tackle the guy at the ball. And you got to do it at a high level. You got to do it disciplined. And we just got to get back to that making our opponent quit mentality.
So do you think that there's more than 3 quarterbacks in the running? How many, well, I guess a better question, how many do you think's really in the running? And is there a possibility one of those freshmen who have shown at times to hit some real talent, and it looked like Coach Saban was actually looking at him?
Yeah. Is there a possibility? Yes, I think so. It's not being talked about much, but that's a very valid point. We had Blake Barnett on our show earlier today on the Miller's Edge, and he was in a quarterback race that featured a guy named Jalen Hurts, who was a true freshman coming in. There was a lot of talk about Jalen. He was doing some very impressive things at practice. And we knew he had talent, but no one really knew if we could actually see him as a starter at that age, being so young coming in. And sure enough, he got in the game versus Southern Cal, the first game of the season. I think we ended up winning that game 52-6, and he ended up being named the starter that year and led us all the way to a national championship. And we were undefeated until falling short to Clemson in that game. So to answer your question, is it possible? Absolutely. Coach Saban at the end of the day is going to put the best man for the job on the field, and that's at any position, even the quarterback position. Now, obviously, a guy like Jalen Milroe is probably going to have an advantage. A guy like Tyler Buckner is probably going to have an advantage. Ty Simpson, same thing. But could a freshman come in and win the job? Absolutely. In my opinion, I think we see a guy like Jalen Milroe starting it off at least week 1, and I think we'll see some snaps from another guy, maybe 2, probably more of a Ty Simpson or a Tyler Buckner coming in. And then I think by week 2, going into Texas, I think you'll have more of a solidified option at quarterback because I think you're really going to need it facing the Texas Longhorns in Tuscaloosa.
Did it all surprise you, as we're talking to Christian Miller right now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, did it all surprise you that Buckner transferred to Alabama after the spring?
No, it didn't surprise me, at least not on his end, because, his coordinator came to Tuscaloosa, right, and Tommy Rees, and I think Sam Hartman is his name. They got that transfer quarterback from Wake Forest, I believe, a really good quarterback. And I heard that Buckner was having a good spring, right? But when you get a quarterback of that talent up there, I mean, it makes sense he's looking for another option to play his college ball at, and it's just very popular for guys to follow, a coordinator or a previous coach. So on that side, it didn't surprise me. Now, did it surprise me that Alabama brought in a quarterback? Not necessarily, because I feel like if they truly felt they had their guy solidified at the quarterback position, they probably wouldn't have brought somebody in. But from what everybody got to see during the spring, I think they feel they have some viable options at quarterback. However, I don't think they felt they necessarily had the guy just yet, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think you bring in another guy. You got Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson both deciding to stick around, which is great because I look at it like the NFL, right? They bring in guys all the time, and that's because they want to force competition. And I think that's what this will do. I think it's going to make everybody play better. I think it's going to make Jalen Milroe play better. I think it's going to make Ty Simpson play better. Everybody's going to step their game up, and I feel very comfortable with any of those 3 guys, or even maybe one of the freshmen. I feel very comfortable with the quarterback room, even though a lot of people have a lot of doubts, a lot of people have some concerns. I don't. I feel like you have 3 really good options with those guys, and I think whoever they decide to go with is going to be a good option for Alabama.
So what does Jalen Milroe have to do to be the starter?
Well, I think what Jalen Milroe needs to do to be the starter would be, number 1, clean up his protection of the football, right? I think that's one thing we saw. We know he has elite athleticism, and I'll even go as far as saying I've seen him make some really good throws, but if he could be more consistent with those throws, and he could clean up the turnover issues that he had when we did see him in limited action, I think that would give him a really good shot at earning the job. And then I look at Ty Simpson, and honestly, it's a very similar thing. He's probably got a little bit better arm of the 2, but he also struggled with some of the turnovers and also some of the decision-making. Look, and you know this too, Wes, to play quarterback at Alabama, they've won with quarterbacks that weren't necessarily elite. They've been able to win with, I wouldn't necessarily say average quarterbacks, but you look at guys like Greg McElroy and A.J. McCarron, they're great players, but they weren't necessarily on the same tier as a guy like Bryce Young or Mac Jones or Tua Tagovailoa. and they were able to have a lot of success here. I think all these guys need to do is go out there, be themselves, play within the system, protect the football, make the right throws, make the right reads, and I think any of those guys will be successful.
The running back room, it needs to be a large room. It feels like the stable of running backs heading into this year is as deep as I can ever remember.
It is. I agree 100% with you. I think Alabama has arguably the best running back room in the country from top to bottom. You've got veterans. You got Jace McClellan coming back, Roydell Williams. You got guys like that, Miller, a young rising guy. And then you look at the five-star freshman running backs that they just brought in. I mean, they are loaded in that backfield. And that's why I feel confident. You might not necessarily know who the quarterback is, but you know who your running backs are. And if they can go back to running the football, that's going to provide a lot of relief for that quarterback as he goes through those growing pains of a new offense and as a new starter. So I agree with you. I think Alabama arguably has the best running back room in college football.
Let's go to linebacker. And before we look ahead to this class and this group, which is certainly talented, give me your thoughts on Will Anderson and what he looked like to you during his time in Tuscaloosa, sir.
Oh, yeah. Will, man, he's phenomenal. I'm very high on Will Anderson. I got to know him personally over the past several years, and man, I can't say enough about his character. The guy loves football. He's a hard worker, a great teammate, a great leader. And then you get to on the field, and he truly is special. He's different. He can do it all. He can play the run. He can rush the passer. He's athletic enough to drop in coverage. I compared him to a slightly lighter Khalil Mack, a guy that has a really nice speed-to-power move. He's athletic enough to bend. And I think he's really just scratching the surface. When I watch him as a former pass rusher myself, I'll be honest, he's raw. He doesn't necessarily have a huge arsenal of pass rush moves. And to me, that's scary because you're talking about a guy who was extremely productive in college. And again, he's still learning his true art of pass rush. So I can't say enough good things about him. And in terms of looking forward and looking at this team this year, you got guys like Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell who are returners. Those guys are, clearly going to be the favorites to be at the outside linebacker position. But you've also got a young guy in Keon Keeley and some other young guys who are going to step up and provide some really good depth to the outside linebacker position. Then you look at the inside linebacker position, Deontay Lawson, an in-state guy who's very talented. A lot of people in the program are high on him. He's got the experience. So I think whoever they decide to pair with him, you got Jihad Campbell, a guy named Justin Jefferson that they just brought in from a JUCO program who he's lighter for inside linebacker. I think he's like 215, 220, but this guy can play sideline to sideline. He's rangy. But what I like most is even though he's undersized, he plays a lot bigger than that. He's not afraid to put a hat on a hat. And, I just like the overall physical style of play that I saw from him and several other guys in the spring game. So I'm excited about the linebacker group. I think they have a lot of depth, and I think they're going to do a lot of good things with this defense.
So as far as you're concerned, who was the best pass rushing coach at Alabama while you were there?
So my first year, we had Tosh Lupoy majority of the time I was there. But my first year, he actually was an assistant. Then he ended up being promoted to the full-time coach. And so I would credit him with him helping me out and assisting me with my pass rush moves. He implemented a lot of drills for us to utilize in practice. He showed us a lot of good film and tape when we were in the meeting rooms and showed us guys we could emulate. And he was very good at, showing us guys that were, very closely related to us, that he envisioned us being able to rush like. And I thought that was really good because I'm a tall, lanky guy, right? It wouldn't necessarily be smart to show me a big power rusher and say, hey, emulate this guy, because that's not necessarily my skill set. That's something I could improve upon, but the smart thing to do was say, hey, here's a guy who's a similar build to you, has a similar frame to you, similar skill set. Let's watch him. Let's see what he does best and what works for him and see if we can get that to work for you. And so I would credit Tosh Lupoy for implementing so many different things and working with us with our pass rush.
And I don't think we're as good pass rush as we were when he was there. And I was hoping I never really 100% knew that. I always suspected that because there were when Tosh got there, a pass rush just elevated, and it seemed like to me the whole time he was there that was when when we were just dominant pass rushing, and we had it wasn't one, it was all everybody.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And look, he came from Washington. He comes from the West Coast. They were a pass-heavy style of offense out there, so I'm sure he was used to getting after the quarterback. But you're exactly right. That was his forte, and then we had to earn the right to rush. It's not that he disregarded the run, but his specialty was teaching pass rush, and I agree with you. I feel that he really excelled at that, and I think we did have some really good years with him being there, and I think Sal has done a good job as well. But I agree with you. The pass rush has, I wouldn't necessarily say it's not necessarily been what it once was, but it could get back to that level, and I think that's a combination of getting guys in there and really teaching them these moves, and really getting a coach to really work with them on that specifically. And then I think we will see that improve, because I think that's something they probably would have wanted to do a little bit better. You had guys, I know Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, those guys excelled in that cheetah package. But you play your best ball when you're able to just have guys go win one-on-ones, because then you have more guys covering on the back end. So if you can get those one-on-ones, handled, you have a lot more success on the back end. So
it just seems to me we were not consistent in every game of pass rushing.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I will say they did change defense some too. I was watching out there with guys like the late Mike Leach coming in and incorporating that air raid offense. Right, they were having to drop more guys. They're having to do a lot more quarters and do things that we didn't necessarily always do as often. And so that might be some of it. That pass rush was looking different. We used to be able to just have a 4-down front and let us rush. We used to tell them, hey, just let us rush. We don't need to run all these crazy, simulated pressures. Just let us go. We'll take those one-on-ones. We'll do all that. We'll handle it. I think it's harder for them to do that now because they need more help on the back end. And I think that's part of it. If you watch, sometimes they're only rushing 3 guys and then sending a fourth daylight rusher. And so the pass rush definitely, I agree with you, looks completely different. But I think part of that is caused by some of these new age offense.
Christian, finally, when I think of last season, the one un-Saban-like thing that immediately pops out of the page for me is penalties. The amount of penalties last year, and to clean that up, what goes into that process to clean that up inside of a season?
You just got to hold guys accountable. Whether that starts in practice, but we used to even go all the way back to, when we were doing workouts. When they said hands behind the line, that meant everything behind the line, not even a fingernail touching the line. And we used to hammer on those things. We used to emphasize those things. We used to drill on them, because that's what we would say. Those little details translate to the season. And so we used to, emphasize accountability. And it wasn't just from the coaches. It was from the players themselves. If us as a player saw somebody messing up or doing something they weren't supposed to, we would get on them. We would jump them because we knew it would translate to the game. And so I think it's just getting back to really emphasizing every little detail counts, whether it's in the off season, whether it's in practice, you name it. And in terms of just cleaning it up, I think that's really all you can do. You can try to get on guys when they're undisciplined, but you just really have to drill into them. Look, this is why it's important to do the little things right. And last season should be a great testament to that, because you can pull up the tape and say, look, these are undisciplined penalties, and this is how it costed us. We lost 2 games last year, and a lot of those penalties were part of the problem. And so I think last year you need to use it as a learning lesson, because if not, you're wasting it. And if anything, you use that as motivation going into this season to clean those penalties up, take those losses to the chin, and go out there and get back to playing Alabama football.
It's the little things that win championships.
The little things.
And he just told you exactly why it's so important to do the little things, because they always show up.
That's right. You said it best. You know it best, Wes. They always show up. Every little detail counts.
Christian, how's the adjustment working with your dad?
It's fun. If you guys get a chance to listen, please do. Again, it's the Miller's Edge on Tidal 100.9. We also are on social media at the Miller's Edge. My dad is a big personality. He's a big guy, but he's an even bigger personality. But we enjoy working together. We're having fun. He's actually in town right now in Tuscaloosa, so we've been hanging out and making some rounds around here. But, man, I really enjoyed it. It's a huge blessing to be able to have a show with my father.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for hopping on, talking a little Crimson Tide football with us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Let's do it again soon, guys. Yes.
That is Christian Miller. Again, you can check him out on the Miller's Edge on Tide
Sharp
100.9.
Actually had his dad on.
Yeah, last year at Media Days. Yeah,
absolutely.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Let's take our first time out. Phone line's open to you on the other side. We'll talk a little more Bama on the other side.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
The Huntsville Sports Commission is responsible for bringing high-level sports entertainment to the Rocket City. In 2023, enjoy events like the CCSA Beach Volleyball Championships, Hometown Lenders Championship, UCI Paracycling Road World Cup, and so much more. To learn more about upcoming events and the Huntsville Sports Commission, visit huntsvillesports.com. The Huntsville Sports Commission. We do sports.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. If you've been injured and need a lawyer right now, do you know who you really get?
I'm attorney Jennifer Lackey. You want to talk to your lawyer. My clients talk to me.
And me. I'm attorney Justin Lackey. We're the ones that you talk to.
And we're the ones who handle your personal injury case.
And we'll take care of it.
The Lackey Law Firm. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
The new favorite place for delicious Mexican food is Coralejos Mexican Grill in Huntsville. Check out their reviews on Facebook and you'll see what people are raving about. Enjoy drink specials all day Monday through Thursday, like house margaritas for $3.99 and 12-ounce drafts for $2. Even vegan-friendly entrees on Monday starting at $5. Coralejos Mexican Grill, 1658 Old Monrovia Road in Huntsville. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram to stay updated on their specials.
Get your ticket to greatness.
Attention all high school boys and girls basketball players. Ticket to Greatness and Grind Nation have partnered together to bring you the Grind to Greatness High School Recruitment Combine. All athletes will have a chance to showcase their basketball skills directly in front of college coaches. This combine is an NCAA certified event. The boys combine is July 15th and 16th. The girls combine July 22nd and 23rd at Sparkman High School on Jeff Road in Harvest. Register now at Grind, the number 2, greatnesscombine.com.
This segment of The Drive is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, located online at WoodyAndersonFord.com with 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison and Jordan Lane in Huntsville.
Back here with you on the drive. This is usually at the point where I tell you about our latest zone deal. Oh, wait a second. It's still available. The reason why it's still available, for the first time in the history of our zone deals, the fine folks over at Corlejos wanted to do a double deal. So we actually started out with 120 zone deals for Corlejos. We're down to 31. So you procrastinators out there have an opportunity to get $50 worth of Corlejos for just $25. Good stuff over there at Corlejos. I would recommend the Burrito Gigante beef.
Unbelievable. It's really good.
And the Mexican egg rolls are also fantastic. I mean, I have yet to have a bad meal there. It's located on Old Monrovia, right behind Westminster Christian, there on Old Monrovia, right next in the public shopping center there off of Old Monrovia. So you still have that opportunity. Good to talk to Christian Miller. The Alabama schedule for this season. This is a team, year 17, by the way, for Nick Saban. He won't stay there more than 4 years.
No.
Host Middle Tennessee, host Texas, at South Florida on September the 16th, host Ole Miss, and then close out September on the road in Starkville, taking on Mississippi State. Then another road trip to start October at Texas A&M, play host to Arkansas. That is your homecoming game, by the way, for Alabama. Arkansas on October the 14th. Then play host to Tennessee. It is the third Saturday in October, and it's at Bryant-Denny, a bye week to, of course, celebrate Nick Saban's. Is he going to be 72 this year? I think it's 72. I want to say 72. I could be wrong. But that is part of my business card here at WZZN is Nick Saban Stalker. November 4th is playing host to LSU at Kentucky on November the 11th, and then down the stretch hosting the Mocs of UTC of Chattanooga, and then to Jordan-Hare Stadium for the Iron Bowl on November the 25th. And there was some predictions made by Brandon Marcello from 247 and predicted order of finishes. He reached out to some coaches around the Southeastern Conference as well as other 247 sports media personnel that I'm sure he has their phone numbers to. But this is how it breaks down from Brandon's perspective. SEC Player of the Year, Jaden Daniels. That's followed by others receiving votes: Brock Bowers, Carson Beck, Harold Perkins, Quinshawn Judkins, and Joe Milton III. Your SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Harold Perkins from LSU, followed by Dallas Turner and Kool-Aid McKinstry. Of course, both of those gentlemen play in Tuscaloosa. Your SEC Coach of the Year, Kirby Smart, received the most votes. Kirby Smart certainly did not win the offseason, did Kirby Smart. Others receiving votes: Brian Kelly, Nick Saban, Shane Beamer, Josh Heupel, Mark Stoops. Hugh Freeze got a vote for SEC Coach of the Year. SEC Game of the Year. The SEC Game of the Year, LSU at Alabama.
Wow, I wouldn't think that.
What do you think is the SEC Game of the Year?
I kind of like, going to be interesting to see Tennessee and Georgia.
That is second on the list. Georgia at Tennessee. Any other games that stand out?
Texas A&M and anybody.
Texas A&M at Tennessee is on the list.
I want to see the fight between the coaches. That's
also making the list, LSU at Ole Miss. And, of course, the Iron Bowl. Alabama at Auburn made the list as well for SEC Game of the Year. Predicted order of finish. Again, this is from Brandon Marcello. This is not the media next week, but we'll see how this shakes out. Georgia, number 1 in the East, followed by Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt received the fewest votes of any SEC team. The West had 2 teams receiving first-place votes. By the way, the East also had 2 teams receiving first-place votes. Georgia and Tennessee. Tennessee received 1 first-place vote. In the West, I mentioned 2 teams receiving first-place votes, beginning with Alabama, followed by LSU, then Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Auburn, and Mississippi State. Your SEC champion is split between 2 SEC East teams and 2 SEC West teams. This is the last year I can say that. Georgia received the most votes for SEC champion, followed by Alabama, then LSU, and Tennessee received a vote to be an SEC champion. So, there you go. Any of that surprise you?
And they're never right.
Well, this is not the media vote next week.
Yeah.
So, just take it for what it's worth.
I'm just going to be so they're interested to see how Georgia handles all what's going on as a team. And
all the off-season distractions.
Yeah, and
true or not true?
Well, I mean, the distractions are real.
Well, no, I mean the reporting of these stories. Feels like there's...
Well, I don't know, Steve. So you look at the guy left the scene of an accident. He can't deny that. How can he deny that?
No,
that happened. So there, and the fact that
I'm talking about what the AJC did, and even this lawsuit that was filed yesterday.
You look at that lawsuit, and I kind of was thinking poo-poo. Then you read it. They have, I mean, first of all, I don't know how. Well, the bottom line is, I believe the report, the university, if they have the emails saying they're lying, that's a big thing. They don't. But they say they do.
Bama Bino is on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. How are you, Bama Bino?
I still my favorite. Not the I like Drew and all them other 2, but 2 of my favorite. 2 of the several favorite sports personalities.
We're good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm all
Getting
right.
wet up there on the mountain?
Not yet. We need a little bit more. I got several friends that's got row crops that they still need a little rainwater to keep from having to irrigate. But I just now started listening. I had to start up. But on the Pruitt thing, I know it said 6 years, but I read the subtitle, and it said that a college could hire him, but they'd have to suspend him a year.
That's right.
So technically speaking, they could hire him tomorrow, and he could be in
Yeah,
place.
but I don't know what the show cause means. Is what can they hire him to do? If he can't recruit, then they can't hire him as a position coach. So it's just it's still I'm gonna have to read it to see what exactly is going on.
They could hire him, but he if it was for football operations, he could not. They'd have to suspend him for a year, so he'd be on the payroll for a year, but he can't be coaching. It'd be suspended a year. So if they go ahead and hire him, it could be doing secondary or something to keep him from passing on us so much.
I think that means working at all.
Well, yeah, he can't be doing that until a year after hired.
Yeah, I don't.
That's 6 years.
When I look at it, it makes him, to me, almost unhireable. But I got to read it.
Well, 9 months later, everything he's done was legal if he done it.
Well, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying. I'm just reading what they said. I mean,
Bama Hammer, he could be hired tomorrow, but he couldn't do nothing for a year. They'd have to suspend him a year. The university would have to suspend him a year if they hired him. That's what the Bama Hammer put out. Now I don't know.
Yeah, again, I'm about to read it and see what the. Right. It's a weird way they put it out, right? Why give him a 6-year show cause if somebody? Why don't you just give him a 1 year? I mean, and does that 6-year show cause go back, or does it start today?
I was looking for that answer in particular, and I have yet to find that. I would assume it would happen. I mean, we had this happen with Bruce Pearl down at Auburn. As soon as he was hired, it was at the tail end of his show cause. And remember, he could not do basketball activities until January hit. So that first fall, he was there, but he wasn't in charge.
Yeah. Well, I can't do anything about it. I just thought y'all might have heard something. I'm not claiming.
Yeah, well, it came out today, so we're gonna try to find out.
But I do know one thing. I'm so appreciative of Coach Saban, but I know Jeremy personally. And when we were at Alabama, his defensive front four and the front seven, counting the linebackers, they were so good that the secondary didn't get exposed. But when he left,
the secondary pretty well. I think the secondary back then, I think the two of them are all pros.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think it had. They were pretty good players. It's hard to expose guys that are all pro.
His defense, I guarantee you, he wouldn't have put Dallas Turner and the best linebacker in the country in coverage against Tennessee. I bet you he wouldn't have done that. They would have rushed the quarterback. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I think we win with Pruitt, and I think that's why they hired him up there, is just get him away from Saban. That's what I think.
Well, they lost 24 scholarships and
28.
That's a lot.
Well, but anyway, I think we'd be better off on defense. There's worse gunslingers in the mix than Jeremy Pruitt, and he's a darn good coach. And I just want us to play Alabama defense, and we hadn't been playing it. And but anyway, somebody needs to coach secondary. We're getting passed on, and we're doing this arm pushing and rooster fighting and interference and all. That ain't how you play defense. That ain't how you cover a pass. But I just want to win, and I love you guys.
Thank you, Bama Bino.
Thank you, Bama Bino.
Appreciate the phone call. 256-576-4977 is the telephone number if you'd like to join us. Just 1 hour today, we're walking you up to Braves baseball as the Braves getting ready to take on the White Sox. Easy for me to say. Let's take our final time out. Final call for phone calls on the other side.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
At Woody Anderson Ford, it's your car, your way, every day. Hi, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford with some great lease and finance packages. Come test drive one of our all-electric 2023 Mach-E's and you'll see what all the fuss is about. Get financing as low as 2.9% for 60 months plus $4,000 in bonus cash. Or lease the Mach-E for $479 a month. And speaking of leases, how about a 2023 Bronco Sport for $399 or a 23 Edge for $449? These are 36-month leases with $52.71 on Mach-E, $37.09 on Bronco Sport, and $48.79 on Edge Do It signing. Zero security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. All offers in July 31st. Call 539-9441 for complete details. At Woody Anderson Ford, we also have F-150 STX with $3,500 in total trade assist, plus financing as low as 3.9% for 60 months. And with nearly 30 STXs to choose from, you may find exactly what you're looking for. Come on in today, Woody Anderson Ford. Hope to see you soon.
Gunner's Landing is one of the Tennessee Valley's finest golf experiences. Just 35 minutes from downtown Huntsville, Gunner's Landing's 18-hole championship Jewel is open to the public 7 days a week. Located in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, Gunner's Landing offers you a golf experience like no other. With beautiful Lake Gunnersville views throughout the round, Gunner's Landing is golf the way nature intended. Gunner's Landing's Club Repair Shop offers a full range of services, including re-gripping and adjusting the lofts and lies of your clubs, even putters. Since the work is done in-house, your clubs will be returned to you in a timely manner. Unmatched in the North Alabama area, it is Gunner's Landing. Schedule your tee time today at gunnerslanding.com. That's gunnerslanding.com.
Thomas from Talent Heating and Air back in studio with us. And Thomas, those temperatures in the summertime starting to rise once again. You want to make sure you're not left out in the heat. You want some cold AC, give Talent Heating and Air a call.
That's right. If you give us a call, we can generally get out there the same day. So we pride ourselves on the same-day service.
And what's that number?
256-503-4490.
And if those AC units are giving you the blues and you've already called someone else, never fear, give Talent Heating and Air a call because you guys can still come out.
That's right. We do free second opinions on major repairs and quotes. A lot of times we save our customers thousands of dollars and additionally get their units repaired before the other guy could even get started.
And that number for Talent Heating and Air is?
256-503-4490.
And if you can't give Talent Heating and Air a call, you can find them online at
talenthvac.com.
Schedule all your appointment service calls there. Talent Heating and Air. Give them a call or find them online today.
The new favorite place for delicious Mexican food is Coralejos Mexican Grill in Huntsville. Check out their reviews on Facebook and you'll see what people are raving about. Enjoy drink specials all day Monday through Thursday, like house margaritas for $3.99 and 12-ounce drafts for $2. Even vegan-friendly entrees on Monday starting at $5. Right now, get $50 worth of delicious food from Coralejos Mexican Grill for just $25 with our zone deal at 977ESPN.com. Coupons good for food purchase only.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the upper 80s and lower 90s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are going to be possible across the Tennessee Valley. Some of these could be on the stronger end of the spectrum. We're going to maintain a small opportunity for rain as we head into the overnight, early into your Saturday morning. Temperatures only dropping into the low and mid 70s. Much the same Saturday afternoon. A mostly cloudy sky. Temperatures climbing into the upper 80s and lower 90s with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Sunday looks like it's going to be the winter here. Rain chances are smallest. A little more sunshine. Temperatures climbing into the lower 90s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
And now, a man who knows what you ate for breakfast.
Time now for the biggest thinker of them all.
He knows it all. He is Drew DeArmond. Listen to Drew and Scott Tyson weekday mornings. It's Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Winding down a Friday. Of course, the dominant topic today is the punishment handed down to the University of Tennessee. No bowl ban. It is an $8 million penalty, which, I mean, essentially, in my world money, that's essentially, what, like $1,000
No, it's not. $8 million is a lot of money. I don't care who it is. Period. End of story.
How much money does Tennessee make?
They're not $8 million, Steve. It's not chump change. It's a lot of money.
They just received $49 million.
That's 20%.
The SEC.
You're getting fined. What if you got taxed an extra 20% this year? Would it be okay?
I'm sure the
no. I don't think. I think that's a lot of money.
Whatever fund is
they're going to hit $8 million. You do that enough, and everybody else, you figure you got to remember you're falling behind when that happens.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, Matt Conley wrote on On3.com. He was able to bring up some emails from Philip Fulmer, the former athletic director at the University of Tennessee, who was in the process of replacing Jeremy Pruitt as head coach at the University of Tennessee. Remember, he was bounced before Danny White came in, and then we know what happened. Josh Heupel. Was Josh Heupel on Philip Fulmer's list? Well, Adam Sparks also found these emails as well from the Knoxville News Sentinel. Here is the list that Philip Fulmer reportedly was reaching out to through some agents, and it's led off with T. Martin, the former Tennessee quarterback. Other names on the list reportedly included Blake Anderson, who was the Arkansas State head football coach, Jamie Chadwell, the former Coastal Carolina coach, who's now at Liberty, Jeff Monken, the longtime Army head coach, Matt Campbell from Iowa State, Luke Fickell, who's now at Wisconsin, but at the time was at Cincinnati, Bill O'Brien, reportedly on the list from Philip Fulmer, who was currently, at that time, Alabama's offensive coordinator, Shane Beamer, Billy Napier, the current Florida head football coach, and Hugh Freeze, the current Auburn head coach, was reportedly on the list, but not the guy that ultimately took over in Josh Heupel. So if anything, I would assume, I would love to know, and I know we've asked several Tennessee folks, but how in the world is Philip Fulmer's name just not mud up there in Knoxville? I just, complete mud